Hello everyone. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. So in today's session, we'll be learning about Terraform modules. We'll try to understand first in the real-time situation as well, so that we can relate. First of all, we'll try to understand the structure of the module, how modules are used or how it is being defined in the real time, as well as showing some architecture of the Terraform modules. Later on, I will show you the code as well, how it is being written in the real time, so that you can get some idea, right? So let's get started first with the Terraform modules definitions. So Terraform modules containers for modules are containers for multiple resources that are used together. A module consists of a collection of Terraform file, right, to keep together in a directory. So modules are the main way to package and reuse resource configuration with Terraform. A module that has been called The module that has been called by another module is often referred as a child module, and we every Mozilla Terraform configuration has at least one module known as root module, which consists of the resources defined in the Terraform file in the main working directory. And child module can be called multiple times within the same configurations, and multiple configurations can be used same child module. So you may seem a little complex while understanding this thing. So what we do, let's see one thing. Now, first thing, if I talk about this thing, right, modules are the main way to make a thing. Now, let's understand first the architecture. Okay, whatever we have explained, sometimes it is not much clear, but let me show the architecture, how it should be used. I think I have it here, right, just now, yeah. So as we all know, modules is basically nothing but in the simplest way, you can say that you can reuse the same code, right? Say for example, this is a normally it should be file. You can say main.tf and then module we have, and then we have output.tfs, provider.tfs, then readme it also optional, but you can keep then variable.tf, right? So now let us see within the module. Module basically this is just a folder, right? This is a folder. So as I told you, module is nothing but it improves our we can reuse, right? That means you have want to use the database into multiple place. You can use same thing. If you have a load balancer, you want to use in different way, you can use it. You have a network related things, you want to use another module, you can use it. Before that, let us understand one thing. So if you go to here, right, what it says, a module that has been called by another module is often the child module. That means there are two modules we have mostly in Terraform. There are two modules in Terraform. The first one, or there's nothing called a first and second. There are two modules. One is child module. Second is your main root module or parent modules. Now, what is child and the parents, or maybe child and the root modules? Okay, anything you see within the module, and this is the module as a directory, right? So modules folder or directory called as a module. Inside this one, you have multiple folder again. Let's say database folder, or you can call as a directory also. Database directory. Then we have a EC2 related directory, then load balancer directory, and so on, right? For each directory is nothing but it is a individual service. If you can notice here, this is about the database related service. Here inside this directory again, database related as a directory, within or inside that you would have main.tf, outpost.tf, and variable.tf. These three are 100% into define every single time whenever you're working with a module. But if you don't work with a module, you can ignore this output.tfs. You can only use with main.tfs and variable.tfs. But if you're working with the modules, you must use outputs as well. I will tell you why. Second thing, that means as I told you, for this is a root module, this is a modules folder, right? Inside here we have a multiple folders or maybe directory called as with their service name. So this is all called as a child module. That means this database is a child module. This load balancer, this EC2 and network flow, right? These all basically are called as a child module. Understand? This is a child module. Then where is the parents module or maybe the root module? Parents or child, sorry, root, both are same. Don't confuse. Okay. Child mean as name suggests. This is child module. Parents or the root module remain. I mean they are same actually. Now, this is whatever you see example, I'll take example of the database. You have a main.tf, output.tfs, and the variable.tf, right, within the child module. And in the, this is called as a root module. Within the same line, same folder, just below there, you will have a main.tf, output.tfs, provider.tfs, and variable.tf. These three, these some of them very much important. Output also you need it, and this also if you want you can. Otherwise you can ignore it, but providers, variables, and main this one .tf, right, this is important. So this is within your, not inside, right? This is the just along with your modules in the same directory or in the same line, I mean within the same modules only you will have this file main.tf and other things, right? This is called as a root module. The question is now, what difference between the root and the child now then, right? Let us understand now. Say for example, child module basically works as an individual service or individual components, you can say. Say for example, under module directory, we have a that module is called as a module, right? This is a child module called as database. Within here, you have a main.tf, everything. This is only the information you would have only related to your database related. You do not have you will not have any other information other than database. Similar to way, if you talk about the another module, this also as a child module called as EC2 auto scaling module. This is also child module, right? Here also you have a main.tf everything. Here also only the auto scale EC2 auto scaling related configurations or Terraform code is available. Similar way for load balancer and others as well. Now you are clear, right? Now, okay, you have mentioned that this is only having one particular core is used, right? I mean, related to database. But you're saying we can reuse that. How is it possible now, right? This is where we have to define the root module. Because in the root module, what it contains basically, for each module, that means within the, let's say I am taking example of database module, right? As a child module. If I want to reuse this same core into another module, right? What happens, you need to first of all, what you need is that whatever information you have in your tfvars, it will be tfvars, the variable you have a variable tf, same whatever you have variables.tf information for your database, you need to pass here also same thing. That means I have multiple variable.tf. If you see here, for each child module, I have, let's say, database related. I have a variable.tfs. Under auto scaling also, I have a variables.tfs, and then under load balancer also, I have a variables.tf. Right. Similar way, I have a network flow related. I have another variable.tf. So see all these value, whatever have for each resources, these all variables you have to pass all the variables here under root modules variable. This is called as a root modules variable. This is individual module called as the child module variables. I hope this is clear now, right? That means whatever variables you have for each module has to be passed in your root modules, right? That means I'm talking about the variables. I have to pass the variable, all the variables for, let's say, database, EC2, then load balancer, network, all three variables, four variables I need to pass here also same thing. What is mean by pass? Pass is nothing but that you basically same variable you need to update here also. Whatever variables you have here in particular module, same should need to be copy paste or updated in here also, so that they would know the data type to use it according to the requirement or the requisition, right? Now, then what about the provider.tf? As we all know, so if you're working with the Terraform, we know we have a provider called as Terraform Azure RM, right? Or we can call as Azure RM. So this is basically a provider, right? So provider, how it works basically, it has to communicate to your Azure service, right? Terraform with the Terraform and the Azure service need to communicate, right? How they are going to communicate so that they can provision the infrastructure or any resource, right? So this is the reason why providers use through the API. It will be basically uh, what they call that. It will be authenticated with the help of API, because there is no any connectivity between what they call Terraform and the Azure resource. So it has to be done. There is no any link, right? It has to be done through the API only. Now we have a readme.md. As we all know, readme.md basically this is a markup. This is a if you see here, let me show you maybe. If you see here, the readme.related will have this is basically a markup language, right? So what it contains basically, you can basically based on the projects or maybe repository, you can define something like this. You can define it like this, right? You can define like this so that they can check according to that. Like basically, it's basically you can call as a nodes, right, for your project related things, or you can call as a uh, where it has all the project related information basically. Or maybe if you want to mention some particular steps for particular tasks, so anything you can use it, right? So that's the thing. Now let's go back. Okay, let's not think much about. Okay, next one. As I told you, this can be used multiple times. Every Terraform configurations has at least one module known as a root module. As I told you, if you talk about the root module, you should have minimum one module. So root module, which consists of the resource defined in the .tf file in the main working directory. Now, main working directory means um, where is that? Yeah, main working directory. This is a module, right? Within here you'll have a here, right? Where is that? Here main.tf, right? This is your main working directory within your modules. So you should have at least one. If you're working with a module, means the root module always need to be at least one. Same thing with our style module, you cannot have the root module also. That also in the thing. Okay. So style module also need to be have at least a minimum one, and root module should be one at least. Otherwise, there's no concept called modules right there. All right. Now let's go with the next. Sorry, here. Now, okay. Terraform module, usually the root module of a configuration can uh, call other module to include their resource into the configurations. So as I told you, so Terraform you want to reuse, you can call them. And in addition to the modules from the local file system, Terraform can load modules from a public or this thing. For now, you don't have to understand this thing. This is about the repository later. We can ignore for now. And this also we can ignore. So let's come to the point child and the root module. So as I have explained, it's clear. Now let me explain a little bit here. As I told you, now that means whatever I have the information, I am passing all the value here. Output also. Okay, I didn't explain output. What it information it has in your output, and is it important whenever I work with the modules? The answer is yes. Without output, you cannot use a module. You cannot use a module in the sense, what I'm trying to say is that, for example, this you have a database related module. Same database related module you want to use in another module, let's say load balancer module, you cannot use this module. It will not be reused. You cannot use it. If you have defined main.tfs and everything, output.tfs, sorry, variable.tfs, except output, you cannot. If you define here everything, still your database module cannot be used. It will be useless. You know why it is useless? Because what information it contains in output. Output basically is nothing but it has the information for your specific database related, right? That information need to be passed. So this is the reason why we are extracting the informations with the help of output Terraform. So output, what it does, it contains the informations of your database basically as a output. That means it has the it will have the information about the database. So that has to be captured and extracted here with the help of output. If you do not define the output and simply use the main.tf and variable.tf and try to use in another module, this will not at all work. because as I told you, information need to be extracted in your basically output.tfs, then only you can use into another modules. Okay. Now similar way, main.tfs also whatever we have code in your main.tfs. Remember again carefully, I told clearly only for the variables.tfs, right? Only for the variable.tf you will have to same copy paste or maybe same replication need to be done in your root module also, right? Root modules that variable file. But what about the main.tf? Do I need to copy paste? No, you don't need, and you don't need to define that, and it is not how it should be used. So in your main.tf, whatever you have for your database or could be your load balancer, you have it, right? This main.tf should only be used or call with a this particular part name. That means you have a folder call as this thing, modules. Under modules we have database slash database, and then so that in your root module you have to call with the module name. Okay, might be not that clear. Let me show you in the real time now. You might have got some idea at least, but now let me show you in the real time. Okay, this is the code which I have written. This will be as it is in your real project will be used. Now let me explain one by one. So whatever we have discussed right now, theoretical we have learned it, but I want to show you practically as well. For now, let's remove this also because I don't need this one. This is about the this thing. I can remove it. Maybe what else I can remove? Yeah, that's okay. I can remove this also. I don't need for this also now because this is from the Terraform, right? When you run it. Now, what you notice here, this is the repository. Before that, let me take you my repository as well. I think it is a name, something I given as, right? Module, yeah, here. Okay. This is the repository we will be working. This is basically a real-time infrastructure as code with Terraform and Azure, right? On Azure. So this is focused on based on the real-time base. So I will show you so that you can understand. If you see notice here, same thing I have cloned it in my local systems. And also right now, if you can notice here, I have only, if you go inside modules, I have only resource group module and the storage account module. But where comes to the locally, I have two more modules. If you go here under modules, I have the resource group storage account was already used before. I mean, it was already there, but I have added two more modules, that is network module and the virtual machine modules, right? Now, now let us go with the definitions, whatever we have explained here, right? Now it says that now I have, let's talk about this any example. Same example I will give you. You can think out. Now let's go with the very basic one. Let's go with the storage account. Now, what did I say? This under modules. First, go with the first one, right? See, under same module in the same modules directory, I have a main.tf, provider.tfs, readme files, and Terraform TF bars and the variables. But for now, these TF bars, why I have defined? Normally, you will not be defining here. This can be moved to some other place. Some other place in the sense, let's say under another folder I can create, under pipelines. Under pipeline we have environment. In environment we have a different environment. Let's say Hong Kong. Here under Hong Kong you can move it like that. But in our simplicity purpose, we don't want to do that. In our case, we are in the same this thing. But only the moving the file is different, but the everything remains as it is in the real time. Okay. Only this one code, whatever the structure we are using, it will be same as it is used in your real time. But only thing, as I told you, this move file normally we will not be keeping here. We have to move in the another folder. As we don't have that for now, we don't have to do that, but we are keeping here. But let's focus the topic. As I told you, module basically within the modules call as this thing. You can give a module or modules whatever name. It should be S or E because we have multiple modules, right? So, but in our case, we given as a module. That's okay, no problem. Anything you can give depends on that. Okay, within the same line in the same folder, I have a main.tf. Then within the same folder also I have a provider.tf. This contains your provider information, subscription details, right? Whatever configuration, it could be any other issues or any other providers. Then readme is something you can ignore for now. As I told you, this is basically some notes if you want to keep it. Then variable.tfs, right? Now this must we have to have in the root module. This is all called as a root module. That means how can I know the name? I mean, how should I call? I have to call if I want to use this one, we have to call root module main.tf to call. This name we can call as a root module because this is a under root, right? Under module only we have, right? Not inside a module, right? This is a under module in the same directory of the module. So you can call as a root module main.tf like that. Similar way, root module provider.tf bars file. Same way for this thing also you can call if this is the case, right? Root module or in root module Terraform dot tfvars. Same thing. Variables means in root modules or root modules variables dot tf. That is how it should be called because we have other also within. If you talk about them under inside module, also we have same thing main.tf, output.ts, variable.tf. Now how they will understand the difference, right? So you have to call with the modules name always, like child module and root module, so that will be easy, right? People. Now if I have to refer this one as a storage account related main.tf, mean you can simply call child module storage account child module main.tf because this is under storage account, right? You can call as a child module storage account, that means under storage account, right? Main.tf. Or you can call in many ways. You can call as, let's say, in storage account, in storage account module child module, there is a main.tf or main.tf, whatever. That's the way we have to call it because as I told you, same folder I have here also, and variable also I'm having here also root module, I'm having the child module also. Same way I have other, let's say if I talk about the virtual machines, also I have here also related to virtual machines, similar way for the configuration of the what you call variables also have it. So how are you going to differentiate when you need to explain to somebody, right? See, if you're working by yourself, it's okay. But if you need to explain to somebody, how they would know which module you're referring to, right? So always you have to refer with the module name, with the child module or the child module. You can mention child module storage account in the child storage account child module main.tf or variable.tf like that. Same way for the root module. Okay, that's how we understand. Need to understand. Now, next, uh, next, um, where is that? Mm, mm, mm. Consists of working. Yeah, this is okay. Okay, somewhere I missed it. Okay, anyway. So I hope this is clear, right? Now, next, what we need to understand. Okay, as I told you, one more thing. One more thing. What did I tell? I told clearly that whatever variables I'm having it. Let's say this is about what storage account, right? Storage account I'm having it. This is a one storage account resource block. So normally if you go to the any Udemy or maybe YouTube and all, what they do is that simply they'll define the normal variables. That is not something we work. But we are, as I told you, focus on the real time base. This is how you have to define it accordingly, not distract this one. The reason why we are using this one is because there are two reasons why we are using it. First reason is we will not just create one storage account. That is for sure, right? In any project you go, we will not use only one storage account. We'll be having multiple storage account. That is the first reason. So second reason, I'm sure that for each storage account we will not have the same configurations, right? I wanted to have a different configurations, in the sense properties of the storage account for each storage account would be different, right? How can you make sure that is created dynamically? This is the reason why I'm using a mapper object. Now, question is what is mapper object? This also a meta argument in your Terraform. So in case I have already discussed in our last session also, in what situation I have to use a map of object. As I told you very much clearly last time, if you talk about a map of object data type, I can use it as a string also, but string would not help you here, because string mean, if you see here, you can only define one particular string, one value, right? You cannot pass all the value, but I have a list of properties, right, for related to your storage account. So this is the reason why I'm using a map. But even if you don't use a map, I can use as an object, right? Instead of map, I can use an object. But object, if I use, what is the problem here? There will be a lot of challenges you can have. Okay, let me give you an example as a note here. If you talk about the map of object, for two scenario we can use it. One is a map, right? Second is a set of strings. Whenever you are dealing with this one, map or set of strings, go with this thing, right? Similar way, if you're using a map or sorry object, it only one, basically you can call as a object. One object in the sense one basically attribute. That means only we can define one storage properties, one storage account properties. But here, with just because of the map, you can have a multiple set of properties. How is it possible, Hriyen? The answer is C. Think this way. Map of object, why I'm using it? Because I want to loop based on the map. That means in the map, let's say I have a two storage account, that many storage account is going to be created. If it is defined three storage account, that many storage account will be created, and so on, right? This is the what is reason why we have to use a map of object again. But if you talk about the just object, what problem here is that you would not be able to use or create multiple storage account. Maybe if you try to create multiple storage account also, while passing the data, you can pass the data. The problem is the kind of the properties that you would be needing different, or you cannot define the unique value. That means you will have only the one properties. Let's say with the help of object, I can create multiple storage account with the help of count conditions. But as we all know, count, if you use count, what happen? But in this case, map, if I use data argument, you have to use data type or that like meta argument. You can use a forest, right? I can mention here forest. So if you are working with this map as a map of object data type, you have to use a forest meta argument. Similar way, let's say instead of the map, if you simply use the object, that means only one storage account, you cannot use a forest here. So, and also forest and count cannot be used together, right? So what you might have done here, if you want only the object to be used, then you can use a, let's say if you use only the object, I'm saying it, right? You can use a count. But as we all know, difference between count and sorry, forest and count, right? We know the difference, right? As I told you last time, forest basically is a map, or if you have a set of strings. In this situation, you can go with the what you say, forest. But count means only if you have a let's say strings, you have let's say any particular any object you have it, object, right? Just object. Object you have a count, object you have, object means you have a some attributes, right? One attribute I can call it. Say example one attributes in simply attribute, right? One attribute is nothing but what is one attribute is nothing but properties, one property, right? Think for this now. So this is the reason why we are using, because as I told you, in your real this thing, you will not use only one storage account, you will be using multiple storage account, and for each storage account you will be having a different configurations. This is the best practice, and in the real world you will be using this data type. Okay, now we understood this one. What about others then? Okay, yeah, please.
Again, actually, while using map and object,
Mhm.
there is a thing, right? We have to use for each.
Yes, you're right,
That
that's right.
for each has to be used in TFR's file. Is that so,
Yeah.
or where do we use
Yes.
for
Yeah.
each in main?
Because
Okay.
you're creating storage account, right? This one.
Yes, yeah. For each storage accounts, for each dot value. Okay. What about the different values that has to be passed? For example, storage account 1 would be having a different configuration compared
Okay.
to storage account 2.
Yes, that is a very interesting question. Yeah. Because if you see here, if you go to the here, as I told you, this only I'm passing it here as a map of object, but only configuration variable, I mean data type I have defined it, right? But you do not see where is the actual value. How do we pass multiple storage account? The question is very right? So let us see how we can do that. So as I told you, map of object mean for each storage account, it will loop based on the storage account name, right? So this particular, let me take this one as a variable name. Carefully check this variable name, whatever I have defined in my child module, right? This is a child module storage account, right? In the variable.tf. Whatever name I have given, accordingly, same way, you need to pass all data type in your storage account also. Basically the properties, because here means what I did was I simply defined the data type as a map of object, and I given name is equal to string, tier also string, replication type string, and so on, right? Flavor also boolean, right? Flavor is nothing but it's whether you want to do like whether it is yes or no or true or false, like that, right? True false, right? Boolean means true false, right? So like that we can do enable backup when you want to do it, and so on. I have defined it according to this. So my question is, how do we basically define the multiple storage account, because we have only one variables, right? The answer is it's possible. If you go to the TFRs file, let's search with the storage account, because this is the name we have given in our child module, right? In the child module, this is the name we have given. I searched with them, I have found this thing. Now let me show you. Now if you notice here, right, this is, as I told you, map of object. That means this is storage account. This is storage account. Basically, it is coming from where? This is coming from the variable name. This name. How? Let me show you. This is the name we given, right? If you see here, variable name, I am just passing data, but define this time as a object, map of object here. But same name I have copied here in my TFRs file, right? See, you can see same name inside here. You can see this is one storage account properties. This is another storage account properties. Can you notice now? There are two. That means if you want to create one more storage account, you don't have to think about the Terraform configuration, because it is already defined dynamically. You're worried. What you have to do, your work is to basically copy paste one more. If you want to do only one. 1 minute. If you just notice here, is here. This is a one storage. If you see here, storage account one. This is a name storage account one. This is a tier standard. This is a replication. This is the another failover, and so on. Similar way, I have another storage account called with this name. This is a premium, and this is a standard. If you see tiers, right? This is tier is standard. This premium is tier. Tier is premium, and so on. Even the failover through, right? Here is a through, and here if you see failover is false. That means you can now imagine, right? All backups are basic properties of the storage account. Each storage account would be different configurations. So what basically we have done is we are simply passing the data type in our child module, right? In our child module we are passing the data type, but actual value, because of the map of object, we are passing its properties in your TFR file. Now you understood, right? This has a different value, different properties, and you can see the storage account name also. Whatever name you can give, it's not just any name you can give. This name is your choice. You can give any name that desired you want to define it. Similar way, if you want to create, let's say in the future, somebody wants to create one more storage account, what do you do? Simply copy paste same thing, right? Copy paste same thing in the same line under this thing. You can what is after this thing, right? Comma here. Here you can paste it, change the properties. In my case, let's say pulse. If you want to give any name, whatever name you want, like this, if you want to change anything, change it. Because of the loop, because here it will loop for each storage account, because of the here this variable because of this is not because that means map is object mean as I told you only one attribute, right? That means only one storage account. But because of the map, that means for each storage account it will be mapped it based on the tiers that you have defined it. Is it clear, Mani?
Yes, yeah. So we have to, based on our requirement, we have to modify it in
Yeah.
TFRs. We have to define the
Yes.
configurations.
Yes. Yes. Correct. You're
Okay,
right.
okay.
This is how it should be used because, as I told you, nobody is going to create everything from scratch. Everything. So, but then how are you going to make that dynamic? That is up to your expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
You
it
have to
looks
think
like
in
an
that way.
art coding, but I have to think through why it is more efficient actually.
No. Why it is why how it will not be high? Okay, let me give you an example. Say for example, I want to create storage account. Instead of writing entire code, let's say I have so many right from here to here. Instead of writing entire code for each storage account, do you think this is much more difficult for you? Instead of writing entire this value or maybe creating this proper configuration of the storage account, do you think this is harder than maybe this one? I mean, what do you define here?
Okay, this one looks simpler.
Huh.
Just thing.
Code who is going to write for each storage account? You have if you have to write like this man, then what is the use of using the module concept here? Or not just a module, it could be any dynamic way. What is the use of managing the infrastructure, right? You will simply you will what you do, you cannot write every single resource group or resource details into like the big script, right? This will take a lot of time for you. You have to troubleshoot, you have to fix the issue and all. So this is the reason why we are defining the data type, calling it here. Now, okay, I will explain later more in details as we learn about this thing. But let's focus on the module concept. Okay, so as I told you in the module, this variable file, whatever I have, this is the under child module storage account. I have a variable.tfs. There is a variable called as a storage account. Same thing, I have to basically pass it. Same thing, same means as it is. Same thing I have to pass it in your root module variable.tf also. Okay, this is root module tf verse. Now let me search. If you search here, you can see here. This is where this is under. Let me expand. No, not expandation. If you see here, this is under module folder. We have a variable.tf. This is called as a root modules variable, right? Here also same whatever you have, you have to define a data type.
And we are not able to hear you.
Example, virtual machines. In virtual machine also I have a variable.tf.
Hriyen, if you are speaking for the past 2 minutes, I was not able to hear you.
Yeah, maybe some lag.
The
Yeah.
same with others.
Okay. No problem. Let me know if anything. Okay. Anyway. Okay.
Okay.
Fine. So as I told you, let's talk about another example. What did I say? Whatever variable for each module you're passing, right? The same variable need to be passed in your root module. Carefully listen. And you have to make a note this one. This variable I have it under BM module in your child module, right? I have a module called as virtual machines. If I copy this thing, whatever I have these variables, right? This is their where. This is virtual machine variables defined under variables of in your child module virtual machines variable, right? But same thing I have to pass it here also. Let me search. This is right now I'm in the root module variables. Let me paste it. See here. I have to pass it. Same. Basically, that means you can simply copy paste it, whatever is there. The reason, as I told you, they have to know whatever data type you're passing it. Okay, that's the first thing, first note. Second note you need to know is that how do you know? Uh, okay, now I have explained about the this module. You know everything, right? Main.tf, what it contains. It more of the virtual machine related. It will have, but network related now you can ignore it because I don't want to use the network module in the same BM module. So I have moved this module into your another module called as a network module. If it's here, there is a network module. Network module also I will have same thing. You will have let's say net energy, sorry, resource group. Then you'll have a bnet. As we all know, right, whenever we are working with the BM or anything, we need to have the network also in place. So this is the reason why I want to make a dynamic way. Instead of using, if I use in the BM module also, I can use this network related properties, but I don't want to do that, because same network, if I want to use for another resource into another BM, let's say another requirements, if you define here under the BM module, you cannot pass everything. This is the reason why what I did was separate module I have created for the network, so that it will be only related to network. Let's say about the resource group, because of course whenever we want to create the resource, we need to have a resource group, right? We need to create a resource group. Then we need to have the bnet. Then we need to have the subnet. Then we need to have the energy. An interesting thing is, along with the energy, we also need to have the energy role assignment, right? We have a multiple role assignment. How can you make sure that also created dynamically? This is the reason why we are using this also along with your energy role. This is basically the network security role, right? So it has to be loop. So here may be complex. As I told you, I will explain as we learn. There is everything we are covering. This unit, that means then also I want to associate to where I want to associate to my subnet, because energy can be, as you we all know, right, energy can be associated in two different level. One is on your nic level or nic cut level. Second one is your subnet level. Now if you see here, creating resource would not just help you. See, you have created the resource here, that is like you created the network security group, right? Energy you created, but then you have to associate, right? How the Terraform would know from which resource it has to be associated, right? You have to associate based on your requirement. This is the reason why there is also another resource block called as a um, Azure RM Subnet Network Security Associations. This is also another resource block. This will help you to basically associate between your energy and your subnet. Now, as I told you, subnet can be associated into two different level. One is your subnet level, second is your NIC level. But in our case, if you see here, I mentioned subnet level here on. I did not associate my this thing. If I want to associate, of course, I need a subnet ID. I also need the network security also, right? This information, because they have to link together, right? That means subnet along with the network security group, they have to link together, right? So I need an ID of this one. This is the reason why I'm using ID. So this is how I have to use it. Now let me take a little bit of a small thing here. What I'm going to do here is, if you see the first one, like your resource group, I can make in many different way of dynamic way I can define. So if you see here, what I'm going to say is that there is a condition given as a resource group. As we all know, resource group normally we do not create much. Trust me. Mostly it will be created, right? It will be already pre-created. You have to use the existing, or some situation you may need to create new one. But as like other issues, you will not be creating multiple storage account, sorry, multiple issues group. You will not be creating it. This is the reason why, based on the situation, I'm trying to manage that also. So let me explain. Now, if you see the count, I'm saying please create the resource group. Okay. Whatever variable mentioned, that means under network the resource group name. If it is not name is not null, then create one. What is mean by not equal to? This symbol is nothing but not equal to. That means in my variable that is called as a network variable, there is I have something called as a resource group. Under resource group as an object, right? Under object there is something called as a name. If name is defined, sorry, if name is not defined, then you have to create one. Otherwise, don't create it. I can go on different way also. But if I given as equal, what it means? It will be another meaning now. What it means basically, it will say if this if not null, then create one. Right? If it is not equal to, if equal to null, it will not. That means by default this will not clear, because you have to know the situation of how to handle it. Let me give an example. Take you there. If you go to the variables file, network, right? This is a network. As I told you, you have to create like this dynamic way. Always try to relate with this thing. Okay, now this is a variable about your network related. Now, as I told you, this is one object. You might be thinking, Hriyen, you told that time map you have to use. Why object use? That is why I have telling you object it is used because we don't want to create multiple uh, network, right? Network in a sense basically properties in the sense basically if you see your bnet name, how many times you will create a bnet or subnet like that. It depends on the situation. You will not create every time the bnet subnet, right? It will be one time creation, right? So this is the reason why we need to know the situation and do it accordingly. Now, okay, now if I talk about the, if you see here, there is a under variable called as a network. Here we have type as an object, and the object we have a, there is a resource group. I given resource group as I told you is an object. Then I resource group name as a string, location also as a string, right? So I'm saying now this resource group will be created based on what? If you see here, that means now under network there is a resource group we have, right? Under that there is a name, right? Under that there is a name. If you see here, there is a name, right? Under network variable there is a resource group, there is a name, right? If this is not null, if this is not null, if this is null, then only it is create. But in this case right now, if you see here variable, it is not null, right? Because we have some value, right? Because if you see here string, I given this value I have said, this is not null, right? So in this case what happened? Your resource group will not going to create because if it is not null, right? So in my case it is not null, right? That is the reason why I want to handle the situations. So this is the reason I am saying now in this particular variable, if the resource group name is, if it is not available, I mean if it is not, I mean if it is not equal to available, then only null, then only create one. That means in my case it is already available the name. That means in this case it is going to create. So the situation wise you have to use a different conditions basically. Similar way, another way I have given another example, sub bnet. Bnet, why I'm using it here, multiple basically details here. Let's say I have the bnet. Bnet need to be created again, created bnet. Sometime you might be thinking, why I want this to also define. I want everything in the like kind of completely in the real time challenges. So what we need to understand here is, if it variable I'm using count, based on the count, if it is under count the created network, if it is defined, then use create one bnet, otherwise you don't have to create. What it means basically is that if you go here under network, there is something called as created bnet, right? Where is created bnet boolean. That means the reason why I'm using it, every time we will not be using the create the bnet also, right? Sometime maybe we will create or we will not create, but I want that also be done dynamic way. That means if I require I will create the bnet, if I don't require I don't have to create it. But this I can do it manually or maybe by defining the Terraform code. But this is not how I want. What I want is it has to be dynamic way, right? This is the reason why I'm saying it now. If it is defined a network created as a like maybe through, then create one, otherwise don't create it. Then again location wise, because the location, which location I'm taking, if you see here I'm taking the binary location for the here. If you see here resource group, right? Here we have a locations or same resource group name also, and this is the name network name, right? You can check, right? Network name. Then I can see here this is the index number, counter index, right? Because we are using count, you cannot use your just like this will not work. Because why it will not work? Whenever you are using the count meta argument, because count for what you are referring the resource group location, right? So but the resource group location is used based on the count conditions. That means you have to always use the index number, right? Count dot index. Why 0? Because it is given one value. Let's say if I have a multiple, let's say if I have given 2 here, can I use like this? The answer is yes, you can use. If I given 2, I can use here. But again, you need to know one more thing here is that if you use a 2, now you need to know that means that many 2 resource group will be created. The question is how Terraform will know which resource group to use. By default, if you're giving 0 means the first index number that starts with the 0, right? That means whenever you create a resource group, start with the 0 index. That means first resource group will be created. That I mean use here. But if you're in your case, if you want to use the resource group which is created, second resource group, I mean, in this case you can use the 1 because you have to call with the index number. That's how to use it. Okay, but in my case I have only one resource group. That means I can give as a 0 because I want to use only the default resource group which is going to be created as 1, but index number would start with 0. This is the reason why I have defined it. Similar way others also. So everything I have given with some condition so that you can practice at home, see the understand logic. Okay, now let's go to the this thing. Anyway, as I told you, I'm going to cover much more in the real time, in the challenges and many things. You would have a lot of learning, but then practice matters always. Do that. Let me go to the virtual machines. Okay. Now, as I told you, you have got the idea about networking, right? Okay. Let me tell you one more thing. You have gone through this. You're clear. That means in the network level, bnet, subnet, energy, and the association, everything is going to happen, right? In the network level. Then variable level mean based on that, I have defined, let's say, bnet related, subnet, everything I have defined it, including the network role also. I mean, security role. When it comes to here, as I told you, this is very, very important now because why it is important? As I told you, if I don't use the output for the this thing, because as I told you, this particular network module, I need to use in my BM module also, right? Because I don't want to create the separate network related configuration in my BM. I want to use the existing which is already there based on the module. That is the network module. So why will I again create in my BM module? And imagine now same module bnet net or I mean network module, if I want to use in different maybe another configuration, maybe SQL or any other, I can simply use same module because this is only one time work. You just do the one time, and the next time you just reuse that same thing. But then just how we say it not work like this, we need to know the exactly how it should work, right? So this is the reason why I was saying that the output is very much matter here. If you don't use the output, then there is no use of the network module. You cannot use at all the network module only if you want. I'm saying it like this. If you do right, you can create, you can create, but now the network module will be created, but this will be only created, but the same module cannot be used it if you don't define the output. This is the reason why output is important. Now output, what exactly information it can contains. Say for example, within the network as a module name, variable name I given, output variable name, here I given as a value means I want to pass the value so that same value can be used into my BM module. Here I need to use it, right? This is the reason why. And I will not just have one like what do you say, properties or maybe one binary related, right? Let's say I have a binary name need to be passed, I have address need to be passed, address space, and so on. Same thing in energy role. How can you pass the dynamic? This is the reason why I have done this way, including the subnet ID while associations. So you might be this complex, I know, I agree this is complex, but you can relate, right? So how we can pass the data, from where it is coming. So this all will come only when you understand the concept clearly, then only we can pass it. Otherwise simply I can copy paste the, I mean I can copy paste write the simple one, but I don't want to do that because as I told you, we'll stick with the real time base. Now same thing for the resource group, I want to pass it here. This is how we have to pass it. Now go back to the BM module. As I told you, now if I want to use this thing, now, what is the how can be used the network module in my BM module? Let me tell you first thing. Before that, I will explain the BM module. Then you can I will show you how we can pass the BM module. First thing, In the BM level, I have done NIC because NIC card also I need, right? Because if you remember in the network level, subnet, NSG, and a BNet or maybe resource group, all will be having in the network level, right? But then NIC will be, that is a BM specific, right? As we all know, that is a BM specific. So now this internet. Now let me think one thing. If you go to the BM variables, I have given here like as a map of object. Now, same thing, that means just like a storage account, if you want to define multiple BM, that means I don't have to create multiple configurations same and again, right? So that is the reason why in the BM modules variables.tf, that is a style module, I have defined a data type, and just like others, I have passed it in tf file. If you go to the virtual machines, see here, I have uh, I have passed the value. I have passed the value like the Linux. This is a BM Windows, BM name, and then oh, I need to this you can give as my RC dev RC. I can just give dev RC. Okay, dev RC, whatever name. Basically, you can define here. Same thing for the this thing also. Okay, I can use the same name. If you want different also, you can use, not an issue. But yeah, so if you notice here, this is about a virtual machine, that is a Linux, sorry, Windows. You have a username, password. One thing here is, if you notice here, this one, username, password, you normally will not be keeping like this. You normally need to be passed somewhere else, this one. Okay, but rest as it is in the real time. Okay, only this password should not be kept here. You have to store in your local file or somewhere, that I will show you, because I still need to do some more enhancement, but almost done. Okay, so this is the thing. Same way, if you want to create another virtual machines, this is for the Linux. Now if you want to create one more resource group, sorry, BM, what you do till here, right? Let's say what you can do is under here till here copy, because this is here the properties of particular BM, one BM name. Same thing, copy this thing. Now as I told you, you can now copy here. Say I will go with another one like this. I can this time, whether it is Linux Windows, you can change the properties according to you. You can change the properties, right? So once you change these properties, what happens? Whatever number of BMs you define, it is going to be created. But not just creating the BMs, but you also, if you take a look close, your configuration wise, we have a resource group that is going to be whatever name. Type I given as Windows. The reason why I type as a type also, but type, is it required? But answer is no, it is not required. But I have used it. I have used it because I want to make much more robust way. Why? Let me. I will show you that also. Okay. Same way configuration. That means now Hriyen, that means depends on this thing that many virtual machine is going to be created. But if you think now, if you go to here, one thing if you notice, for every like virtual machines need to connect to at least one NIC card, right? NIC. How are you going to create the NIC? On what basis are you going to create the NIC, right? You cannot just simply create one NIC and then attach to the BM. So that also need to do some automatic way, dynamic way. How is it possible? See, there are many ways of doing it. This is the reason why I want to. What I did was, in my case, I took a situation where two situations I've taken. First situation is my BM should be based on the OS type. That means whether it is a Linux or the Windows. This is the reason why, if you see here my variable files, I given here type as a string. That means type in the string, but actual value, as I told you, I have passed it in my here, right? Type is equal to Windows. Same thing if it is a Linux, type is equal to Linux, like this. What it will do is that now, based on this OS type, the NIC will be created. Why I want? Because I want the naming convention also matters for me. I will not simply create the resource group or maybe BM, I need to think about the naming standard point of things, as well as how the BM should be conditionally, sorry, a nick card should be created based on the BM. Say for example, let me take a close look. I'm going to create the nick card, right? As I told you, nick card need to be created. This is a BM specific. That means I cannot give the BM, sorry, nick card name any name that I want, right? That nick card name should be as it is BM name also, so that we can follow some standard like naming convention, right? So I cannot just use any name. So what I did was, now let me hide this thing. Yeah. So inside my very virtual machines, what I did was, there is something called as a forest I use. As we all know, forest why we use, because I will have to use a multiple mapping loop, right? We are doing it. So I have done it. So, but then not just creating the BM, I can simply use the is dot forest is equal to whatever the variable name, and I can use this thing. But what happened? That many time BM will be created. That means now, say for example, I will just ignore for now maybe this one. What I can do, instead of this one, I can simply use, sorry, not count forest, right? For is based on what, if you want to, for is if you want to use based on the BM virtual machines, you can type like this. I can give virtual machine name based on this. I can do like this. But this is a very simple. Why it is simple? Because now what happens now, whatever BM is you are defined, that mapping you are doing for this one will be created. But I I want to make sure that this NIC also created based on some other condition as well. This is the reason why you can see this one. So let me show you how it's possible. So what I did was, now, as I told you, I'm saying now, for this I have to use it. But what is this mean? This means seems complex for you, right? Even for me also complex, right? But let us understand this. How we need to understand here. First thing, whenever you see the under, this is a curly braces we use, because we are using, why curly braces we are using? Because we are defining some variables, and for is nothing but it is a for expression. For means it is a for expression. K is nothing but it is a key. V is nothing but it is a value. In mean, as you know, in variable, that is called here, and key need to be passed in the variables. 1 minute. So what I was saying this one, right? So what that means, now I'll just give a high level first. That means key, and we are using this thing, right? Greater sign. Then again B, again if V type is equal to Windows. What it means basically, I also define another variable, not just the looping based on the BM, but also based on the kind of the BM type, whether it is a Windows or Linux, like that. So that moves much more advanced, maybe in the this thing, right, situation. Understand? So now what I'm trying to say now, you create the NIC using the for expression. If key means, what is the key now? Key is nothing but, if you see here, you given the here TFVers file. Here you have given some properties, right? Here basically you can say, let me show you this one. This is basically one key, right? Here key, one key here. Now key, that you have a key value pair, if you remember, right? That like that. Now key that need to be passed, and key. Okay, for key, that means they will loop based on the BM. That means if you define the, as I told you, we have a multiple BMs, they will check based on the number of BMs you created. First thing, right? They will check the based on that. Second thing, then where they will check the value. Value mean they will check the BM, but they also check the value. Value mean for each BM, as I told you, would have a different kind of the properties, right? Or the attributes would have. So they will check where they'll check under this variable, because inside this variable, this is where we have the what we call the value, right? Inside here we have the detail, right? Under BMs, virtual machines. or if you talk about the root style module also, you can refer it. Inside here, we have all the properties, right? They'll check this one. After checking this thing, now once they get the key value, they have extracted based on the BMs and in particular variable file, what they will do, key, they will key means the BM information, they will pass in the value, they will pass in the value. Together they will pass where value means the BM value basically, right? If again another condition, if this particular value type, type means basically BM type, right? This BM type, this BM type with some condition, this BM type, if it is a Windows, or maybe if it is a in the Linux, if you talk about the next one, in the case it is a Linux also, right? If it is a Linux or Windows, depends on that. If it is equal to mean, obviously, if it is a Windows, then only create the NIC card. What is the advantage now here? There are two advantages here. First thing, you will not have to define multiple NIC block. If you see here, name also I have given accordingly so that it will be easy for you to understand. If you see here, Windows NIC as a local name or reference name, I mean, okay, that means this particular, just with one configurations, I can have a n number of NIC created dynamically based on the operating type. If you have operating type as maybe some other, it will be created based on that. Similar way, this is another NIC car, right? Nick car. This also with the same condition. This time again with the same concept, uh, right? Using for expression key value, they have to value in particular variable files. That is your virtual machine variable files. Pass the value key into the value. If the value type is this particular, that is a Linux, then only you have to create. Okay, but this is just about the creation of the what I said, NIC based on the conditions. But what about the naming? How are you going to make sure the each name should be based on the BM, like BM name? That means for each BM, sorry, NIC you create, it will be created whatever name you give, right? But I want to make sure, let's say if I have a let's say 20 virtual machines, right? Virtual machine 20. How the BM maybe Terraform would know that what name need to put for each NIC name need to be given for each NIC, right? They will not know. So you have to make sure that is working as expected according to your expectations. So this is the reason why I'm using it here. There is another, like I'm using a variables. This variable is coming from where actually? This variable is coming from this, basically we show this is for the name, right? That means NIC name. This is coming, that means whenever I create any nick card, it should start with the NIC underscore, sorry, hyphen, then variable is dot key. Now what is dot key? Is dot key is nothing but basically the value of the BM or the BM name. How is it possible? How do you know this is a BM name? The answer is because there is a looping happen, and inside the variable called as virtual machines, we have is.key is the value, right? So if you go to again TAVers file or maybe TAVers file, right? If you go to TAVers file, this is, let's say for Windows, right? This is a key, this is the value, right? So key value, we are passing it, so whatever name you're mentioning, so this is why we are defining here. Okay, the name you define, so that is how you should be used. So if you want to pass the value, also value you can pass it, and then after this one it also need to be dynamically defined based on the environment. Let's say it has to be last, the name should be last based on the region, but this is again optional. I have given for your better understanding, so because it can be any other variable, they can define it. Okay, same way resource group remains same. Now resource group in my case, as we all know, if you see the NIC we defined. Now NIC card, if you remember that time, we are using the something called as, if you remember right, we are using the count, right? When we create the NIC, what is the name? Resource group name, right? Resource group name, we are using count. But here, nothing, there is nothing called a count anything. Because why we are not using count? Because this data is passed from the network variables. That means this particular variable, right? It is from taken from here. It is not there. It is not created here. If you see main.tf, you will not see the VM related. You will, if you see here one by one, this is about the NIC for your Windows. Then another condition I have given, this is for the Linux base, anything based on the Linux, that many NIC will be created. Same thing. Then I also need to associate the public IP address. Again, similar way, just like a VNet, I also associated based on the public IP, Windows or Linux. Similar way for the um, what you call Linux public IP address also. Then next is, this is the VM I'm going to create it, right? This VM also I'm going to create it based on that. Just like a if it's defined as a Windows or Linux, they'll define it. So now that means you can imagine now how dynamically it is used, right? Same thing for the another VM. So if you go with another, you can see like this. So why there is no anything network related configuration file, but whatever value is there, like you can see here is basically is taken from your module, this module, network module. Now question is, as I told you, how is it possible? How can we tag? I know it is reusable, we can do it, but how can we do that? Okay, so what we need to understand here, in order to basically work with the module, we need to understand some 2-3 points here. The first one, if let's say I will go with the again previous one, network module, as I told you, it is going to be created, everything going to be do everything. Now first thing is that once you write a module, let's say network module, I want to use into the BM module, you first based on the BM that network you created, accordingly you have to define the output. Okay, you have to define the output.ts file, you have to define the pass the value. Basically you have to pass the information about your network related informations. Once you pass this thing, then only what you do in the same network, if you go here, this variable also, as I told you, this is a network related, right? If you see here, here also you will have to get, that means for every resource, as I told you, you have to pass it, sorry, not here, here, right? You have to pass it here. I have to pass it here, right? I have to pass it where? Here in the root module variable. Same thing, if you see here inside the variables also, you would see him, right? So this thing you are clear. That means first thing we have to pass the value variable also. Second thing is that you have to pass the output also. The second thing. Then after passing, what is the third thing? Third thing, you have to go to root module. The first thing, I have to call with a module. In a module, I have to call something like this. I have to create a module called as a network. That means I have created everything. If you just create a folder like this will not work as a module. You have to, in a main.tf, in a root module, main.tf, you have to define like this. Let's say this is about the resource group, this is about the storage account, this is about the network, this is about the virtual machines. Why it is? Because we have a module called what you call network, resource group, storage account, virtual machine, right? So all these we are working individual module, right? This is the reason why we have to call our each module with the respective location part. Now let me go with the first one, sorry, storage account as it is. I have explained last time. Let's go with the network. Now I have, whenever I work with the module, let me comment this first. First thing I have to, as I told you, use the extensions module you type. As you type module, whatever name you want to give, you can give. In my case, I can give, because we are dealing with a network, I can give as a network. You can give any name. It's not be name that you define here. Let's say you give a name as a network here, right? This is just a folder name. But here you can be same, or you can give any other name that you wish to give. It's choice up to you. Okay. Okay. Next thing, as soon as I give, I need to give a source. Now, where module name I have to use, but where is your this network module is resides or located? That means where your this network related code or the Terraform code is reside, that you have to know. That is the reason why I have to use a source, right? In the source, as you type the what do you call, as you type the dot, because this also you have to give part, right? Automatically you can see if it is already defined in the same line, you can see. In my case, I want to work with network, right? Network here. The question is how this name is coming. because this module is coming from under this, because this is a root module, right? In the root module main dot this thing, this is the dot, this will be I given as a single dot, then slash, then I given folder name as a module, this is the name it is, then under module I have a network module folder, right? This is the slash network. Under slash network only I have all my code, right? This is the reason why I have to define like this way. Okay, next is your uh, whatever basically the properties or maybe information you have passed it in your root in your child module, you have to pass it here also, some of the high level. So the best way, as I told you, you can install the extension, know that example if you click here on your error, not error, basically indication, right? This will tell you what exactly information is required in order to pass the module. So that means now it is clear, right? You can check. So first thing what I need, environment, resource group, or everything, right? So I can go with one by one. Let me go with the environment first. Resource group I'll go first, right? I'll go with the resource group. Is it spelling correct? Resource. Sorry, not resource group, network, because we are calling with the this thing, right? So under here, what do you call network RC, we can call with the this thing. Network RC, I think we don't need it because I think we have not removed it. We can, because network we have to pass it. In network, whatever value we have it, we have to pass it. Let's say in my case, again, it is a var dot. This now while passing it, why this var dot is coming from where? This var dot, because the, if you remember, as I told you, whatever variable you have for the network layer in your child module, same thing I have passed it in my here also, right? So this is the reason why I'm using a var dot network here, right? Var dot network. The next, now again I can type here, I can see that environment, right? I can simply type environment. If I type environment, now I can type the environment also. I will be taking from the, again here, same thing from your variable file, because same value it is passed here. It should be passed, otherwise you cannot use it. It has to match. If you give some data type here different in your child module as well as the root modules, if they are different, then you cannot, the Terraform will not work like that. Next, you can see the network. Okay, this also require network. What is name? RC, right? Network RC we created maybe in the network level. Then I can give a var dot network RC. Next, you can type. Keep pressing it. Understand the one. Now you can see. You can see the name. Tag is required. Now, as soon as you type almost this thing, where the text, right? Same, because this tag also, if you go here, this is global, right? I can see the tag here. You can, sorry, not here. Here, right? This tag is passed as it is map of strings, because this is the best practice we have to follow. Same thing if you go with the here also, because we want to define everywhere. Tags is important, right? This is the reason why I have passed the same way. Right? Now, okay, this is good. Now, that means now you understood what all information is required. Okay. Now, the next thing is I have passed it, this thing. Now you can run it. This is how you passed it. Now, once you pass this thing, right? Now, because this module I want to use where now. Let me remove this one because I have already an existing. I will uncount this one. Let's say once you pass this value, basically as a module, I have passed it. Now I want to use this network module where I want to use this module in my BM module, right? This is the reason why BM is a separate module. This is why, just like others, same thing I have, whatever information is required, I have passed it, right? Now, if you notice one thing, as I told you, for the BM to create, I need a network resource group, storage account, sorry, resource group, maybe your subnet, bnet, NIC, not NIC, at least high level, right? You would be needing the bnet, subnet, then NSG and all that. So how can you pass the value from the root module, sorry, from the network module to the BM module? So after, while passing it, first thing, as I told you, the same concept. If you see here network, I had mentioned in my case module dot network dot network. Okay, you have to pass this way. If you see all others, if you see here, it is just a variable. It is taking from your variable file. But this particular network, because network is a module name you given right here, right? Module name you given is a network name, or maybe this thing, or what a module name you given. Let's say if you give module dot this name you given, right? This is the reason why you have to pass this way. Question is, what are the prerequisites now to do, right? So you need to know what is the prerequisites. First thing, as I told you have to, in your root module, sorry, style module, you have to extract the information with the help of output. Once you define this thing, just like other issues, create all the issues. Now go to root module main.tfs, then define the module for the root network first. This one I have defined everything. That means I have now this module can be used anyway, because you have defined output also for the network related. Now question is, I want to use in my PM modules. Then in order to use the PM module, what I need is that I have to under network. This network name coming from where? This name can be from, you can give any name. So if you go, that means whatever the network module, carefully listen here, okay? Whatever module name you define here, let's say I give a network module name as a network, right? Same name thing. Now you also need to know what all basically details require for BM to use your network module. That means if BM wants to use this particular virtual machine, they want to use the network, I need to know what are the dependency components, right? I cannot just simply use the module and it will not work that way. So know what exactly data is required in order to use in your BM module. So in my case, what I did was, if you don't know everything, what you see, normal example, NSG role and everything, we don't need everything, because this is already created. What we need is only the NSG name. We can give a, you can maybe, you may need a subnet name, bnet names, maybe NSG name. You may have some 2-3 names and ID you may record, but you would not need everything. So what you do, based on your existing in your network module, take the same name, take the variable name as it is, and you modify this one. That means you need everything. But if you're new, what I would say, you copy everything. If you not need also, you can copy everything. This will work. What you do, copy everything, whatever is there, so that I want to show you. That's the thing. I copied from where? I copied only from the root module. I'm keeping everything here, and I'm where I have to keep this one. Then now I have to same module, sorry, variable I need to pass in the BM module also. Now under BMs there is a variable.tf, right? I have to pass it here. If you see your network, you can see here I have passed it this way. This is nothing wrong doing. You can pass everything also, but if you know what urgent to be passed, you passed it. If you're not sure, you can pass everything. That means whatever variables I have, modules information I have in the network, all the values will be passed here. Or it will be the same. That means what I did was, now until now, I have simply copy pasted from the variables in your root module, sorry, style module of the network, and putting it into the module that is where I want, in my case BM module. So in the BM module variable.tf I have pasted here as it is, because sometimes there will be a lot of dependency, right? So I don't know what is the dependency, so better to copy paste everything. Okay, otherwise you can only change the variable and only pass whatever variable that you needed. Now whatever name you have given here, this name, right, this is where in the root module, right? In the root module, right? This is a root module, sorry, this is a root module, right? In the root module, because I want to use in the network module. So if you see here network, this network name is coming from your variable. Which variable? This name coming from your what do you call, let me check. This variable is coming from here. In your BM module, you given this name. If you given name as a network something, let's say 1, means this is from the, again remember one thing, this variable should not be as it is in your child module variable and the root module variable. These are completely different. But then just to get the data, basically extract it, the required details I have to define it here. But in my case, I'm extracting everything because sometimes there are a lot of dependency. So that is why I'm keeping as it is. But this variable name is not as what name it should be. You can give any name you here for your BM module variables. Okay. Let's see if I can give you one. I mean one I can give. In my case, let it be as it is. Now let me go. This is the name coming from here. Sorry, here, right? Main.tfs here now this name is coming from variable in your local whatever name given module. Carefully check here. I given the module is coming from module where this is a module, right? Because I want to use a network module, then network. This is coming from where this name, network module name, then under here the network. What is the network again? This network is coming from the variable. Again inside here you have a variable file like under network behavior like this. So now you can see how it is being used. So it is not simple as we think. We can simply say we can reuse everything, but then there is a lot of things going behind the scenes, right? So now, as I told you, now this is how we have to use. All right. Now we have done. Now we have understood. I will take 2 minutes, 2 minutes time to explain a little bit of the NIC also. As I told you, NIC need to be created based on that, based on the whether it is Linux or Windows, they will create it. The reason why I want to define, if you go to TFVerse file, I want to make sure based on that it is created. If you go with the, let's say one of the resource block, in my case Windows resource block, here if you see here, type I given as a Windows, based on that it should be created NIC. Second also thing, there is also another called the public IP. Whether a public IP, if you remember, again this also depends on the situation, right? Sometimes you may need to define the public IP, sometimes you don't need the public IP. But how can you ensure this also dynamically, right? This is the reason why we have to work with different scenarios, different this thing. Now if you go here, as I told you, public IP as well, and there are two sides, right? BM as well. So if I go to the BM modules, if I go to the public IP address, this is the public IP for the Windows related. Same thing for the Linux related. I created because I want to isolate Linux and Windows different configurations. This is the reason why it will be much more easier. If I can, otherwise I can use same block, one resource block, but it will be complex. It will not be complex. It will be difficult to manage it, whether it is for Linux or Windows. Because if you remember, for Windows and Linux would have a different properties or attributes, right? So I don't want to mess up that. So I want to go based on the operating type. Okay, now let's go with the Windows one. Now what I'm trying to say here is that again using some loop conditioning called as forest. Again for express, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt actually. For creation of public IP address, the is it required to split it into two, like Windows and Linux?
No, that's not required. But then if what I'm saying is, if you have a multiple Windows Linux, if you create, how are you going to how are you going to differentiate the NIC? See example.
Okay, okay. To use
See
the
example.
NIC.
Yeah, I want to give because this is the reason why I have split it into two based on the conditions. Otherwise, if you don't want, that's up to you. You can don't need this, not required it. But why I
Mhm.
have I thought was example, if you define this Windows have a different block and the Linux a different block. Let's say example, if you just use only, forget about the Windows, let's say just a public IP, I can use one. But if you see here while linking it this thing, right, maybe other properties basically of the Windows, right, maybe some configurations, right, and while looping basically for your BMs, right, BMs has a different properties or maybe this thing, right, naming standard, everything. So what I did was I want to say based on some conditions for expression the value wherever they have here. If value they need to pass the in under the BM basically value they need to pass under variable call as a public IP enable. If it is enabled true, then only this is created. That means this is for the BM related. That means why I have defined this way, because if you go to the TFVerse file or before TFVerse file, let me go to the variables in your here. If you go to the virtual machines, see here. I want to define because see why I want to define this way is because I have seen in the actually real time it is used like this. The reason why it is used is because you might be knowing that if you We are all experienced person, right? So every single VM would not have the public IP address. Are you agree with that? Right? Every VM will not have the public IP address.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, how are you going to make sure that it has to be dynamic way? How are you going to how are you going to make sure that it should be created based on what condition you should define? This is the reason what I'm doing for each VM level. I have given the like object as a boolean, like a public IP within the boolean I given, like a value. So this value I have passed it. That means if you go to the TFVers file and if you see each VM, you can just notice here, right? Public IP. That means under variable dot virtual machines. Then in there under virtual machine, there is something called as a public IP. This is a boolean, right? If it is enabled through, if for that means this is for each VM. That means, as I told you, every single VM will not be use a public IP address. So in your case, if you mention, as a, if you need a public IP, you simply enable this one, this block. Automatically, NIC will be created for you and associated to the respective VM. I don't have to think how many NIC is going to be created. As long as it is a operating type, and as long as it is a and you have enabled for each VM block, if you have enabled the public IP enable, then automatically the NIC also going to be created for you, and loop and also associate respective VM. Creation I can do it, but how I'm going to loop them? This is the reason why I have used it. The condition, two condition I have used it. Let's say, as I told you, with the VM level, as a within the VM is VM, I have given within the is VM, I have there is something called the public IP dot enable, right? If push true, then only it will create, and based on that, the name should be NIC name should be, sorry, not NIC, the public IP name should be as it is, like PIP, and whatever the VM name is there, this is coming from again here variable file of virtual machines, and then last this name. So I can follow this standard, right? So this is how we have to use. Again here, same thing for Linux also. If you talk about this, about the, if you go to the TFVers file, again Linux also, because if you go down, there is also enable, right? So if you put enable, false mean, in my case, VM will be created, but public IP will not be created for you. Public IP will not be created anymore for you. This is the reason why we need to understand all the scenarios, all the different complexities, and make sure it is as it dynamically you should manage it, everything. That means your work is very less now. Only one time investment you have to do is that think well what exactly situation may come and how we have to tackle with these different requirement or situations. Then everything is placed, then you don't have to worry much about anything. This is the thing. All right, now what we do, we have understood many things, but as I told you, same thing, we have the BM module also. I want to pass to some other module, I can pass it. Just go through how the variables are also defined, because if you see, they are complex, sometimes difficult to understand. Sometimes you can use maybe different tools. You can use a ChatGPT, maybe you can use any other, understand the context that will be used, Google it, you get a lot of idea. Okay. Okay, now let's go with the module part. So as I told you, I have passed the value for each module. That means what I want to use a network module in my BM also. This is why I have here also network related module, right? So now I can use it. Now, how can I use now? Let me go with this thing. This is a name, right? Within your BM module, I given the variable name as a network. Under here, if you go to the whatever I want to take the information, that means I will not be creating the new resource for the network related, right? So I'll be using whatever properties is given here. So because I have already passed the data also using here, right, module, and the module is my case network. I have taken the network module. This variable, as I told you, I've taken from the inside here. There is a variables, right? These details I've taken. Now I want to use it in the BM module. So let's go to the BM module now. Now, first thing what I need was public IP address. Sorry, NIC. In NIC, to create an NIC, what all the details require? Minimum requirement for NIC is that we need to have the subnet ID also, right? Because subnet ID need to be associated to your NIC level, right? Otherwise, how the NIC will be created based on which range, right? You have to associate the subnet along with the NIC. This is the reason why I need the information from the network so that I can use it. That's why I have extracted with the module concept from the network. So you can ignore it for now. As I told you, this is the same concept as the Windows base. Now this also you can ignore it, nothing much. But this let's focus on the locations. This location coming from where? This is coming from the network, and the network, this network. But network, this is variable is coming from where? This variable coming from, actually, if you see, this is coming from network variable, right? So that means I'm using the same variable network. Then in this case we have a resource group here, then name. So this is the reason why I'm able to use now in my NIC here this name, right? Same thing for the locations. Then what I need? I also need to define a NIC card. Sorry, not in a subnet ID also, because in the network also subnet ID is there, right? Subnet ID also need to be used because of the output. As I told you, you have to extract everything, export everything. That is done already. So let's not think much about this one. Let's stick with this only here. As I told you, here you're coming. Now here what we need to understand here, where dot this where is coming from where again? This where is coming from directly. This not taking from your root. This thing they are taking from the, because the value, whatever the network related value is required, or maybe information is required, it is already passed in your BM module, right? It is already passed in the BM module. If you see again, I'm showing you, but not again, you have already passed it, right? So now within here you have passed it. This is the reason why inside the BM module also you have a variable called as a network. That means instead of going through all the way, the same value they have passed it, they have passed to my BM module, and within the BM modules, I have also defined the data type for specific network related informations, so that I can take the information. I mean, I can take the what is say information from here, say directly from the BM module only now, because it is passed already the from module. Now let's go there. Now if you see here, where dot coming from, where this where is coming, this where is coming from the variable, which variable? Network variable. Now if you go to network variable in the same BM module, as I told you, under network module there is a BM, right? Subnet ID. See here, subnet ID, right? Subnet ID is taken. This is the reason why we can use a subnet ID. So now same way, for the public IP address, as I told you, public IP address normally, if you remember, it is not created in your what do you call, network level, right? It is in your BM level, because as I told you, this is a BM specific. So this is why I have defined a based on the BM level. Now, so in that, in order to associate the NIC to the public IP address, I mean with the public IP, how can I do that? I need to have the public IP address also created, right? So I will come back again. This number I'll come back. Let's go to the public IP address. If you go to the public IP for for Windows, right? As I told you, Windows has to be associated to the Windows. Now, if you go here with some condition again for is based on the BM, a BM value, there is something called as public IP is enabled, then it is going to be created. What is that public IP? That means for this particular Windows BM in your TF bars, if you have defined a, let's say, public IP as false, or no, if it is false, it's not going to create. So in this case, we don't have to think it. But let's say if you have created already, then in this case, let's say example in the Windows case, right? We have enabled it. So in this case, based on the BM specific, if it is created, then in our case, this also need to be created based on the condition, right? So, but how are you going to associate to the SBM now? Now their name is okay. We have got it. Location remains as it is. Okay. That means now this is just going to create. But how are you going to associate them? This is the reason why. If you just remember what we are using here, meta data call as a, sorry, meta argument call as a for each. Now, if you go with the this block for the public IP block, right? Let me this thing. If you go here, this is where we want to associate, right? In the, sorry, not here. Here, right? Windows 1. Now, if you see the public IP for is the public IP. From where this is coming? Again, as I told you, this is all coming from the variable that you have passed it. If you go again variable that you have, as I told you, all the network basically we have passed this thing, right? Public IP address also. Let me check. This is under the which module? BM. Public IP not enable. Yeah, this variable is coming from where? This variable is coming from the virtual machines variables. So go to virtual machine variables. If you go to the virtual machine variable, Here we have, as I told you, this is based on a specific VM, right? Now, if you go here, there is a somewhere I mentioned. Okay, if you see here, under here, I have given as a variable name and then resource type. What is there? What we need actually? Let me check. I can, where we are. Okay, this is the one, right? Yeah, I think we are here. Okay, public IP address. Okay, public IP address, right? So inside the VM, there is a public IP, whether it is enabled, they'll check. That means for each is coming from already from the VM module, and under that we have under VM module we have a public IP dot enable, right? So if you go here, public IP we have under thing, there is a public IP. Just check here somewhere. Public, here, public IP, right? If it is a enable dot enable mean this is object, that is why dot I'm giving it. Otherwise, you can just give as a string, sorry, boolean. It will be true false. But in my case, I'm giving as a object. Okay, to make more robust. Now that means if it is enabled in particular VMs, in your TFRs also I'm showing you, right? TFRs also, let's say this is one I have enabled. This is a VM specific based on true or false. It will create and associate. Now, if I go to the here, so that means if it is enable it in particular VM, whatever is there, VM, Windows, particular VM, if it is enabled, then you have to use this particular NIC card based on the ID. ID means this ID from where? This coming from your is the key. Is the key is from where? This is coming from the forest looping, right? If you see here, Azure RM public IP, then IP Windows, same thing. If you see here, IP Windows, we have is the key because we are using a forest meta argument here. If you see here, right? Then this is the reason that ID. That means what basically I'm trying to say now here is that for this is for the is VM, but sorry, NIC card. I want to associate public IP address. As I told you, I will not be requiring for all the VM. So how are you going to make sure that each NIC should be associated only when particular public for specific VM, the specific VM, there should be public IP enabled. That time only the NIC need to be created and associated. How can you make sure that? This is the reason why I have used these conditions here. So that I'm trying to say now, for each NIC should be created only based on these conditions, Windows types. Within the Windows type, within the Windows, if the public IP is enabled, then you take the public IP address also. Sorry, public IP, use the public IP address. If it is maybe not created, maybe not, maybe let's say in your TFVerse file, let's say right now it is true, right? Let's say if it is false, right? If it is false, what happens in this case? That means you should make sure that you should just it will listen, right? That means it's not clear. That is why I'm seeing null. Okay, that means if it is only enabled for specific VM for under the Windows, then use the dynamically created the public IP address. If it is not maybe created the public IP address, then you can ignore it. Null mean nothing to do. So as it is, similar way I have done for the others also. Okay, so all resource are there. So please take a look. This is very important. You might be confusing still, but go through the recording once again and again, understand, and also try to go through this repository. What I'll do now, let me run this and show you how it is going to be look. Let me go to the repository. So as I told you, I don't think much about this thing right now. Whatever resource I have done it. If you go to a verse file, in my case, I think there is some syntax issue, right? One curly braces is missing. Okay, and there's I given right. One curly braces I missed it. Okay, now what I'll do? Let me run the Terraform init because as I told you, I need to associate Terraform init. Okay, what is that? Spelling correct? Oh, Terraform. Now let me expand this one. If you notice here, this time you see here, right? Whenever I run Terraform init, what happened, whatever it is going to initialize everything, storage account, we have a different module, right, also, right? And also if you see backends, plugins, everything's as normal. Now once it is successfully done, now if you run, you can run a Terraform, maybe run, let me clear screen. I can simply type Terraform validate, because the validate has to be matched. Okay, I think I might done some changes. Missing instance key. Oh, I did not mention. Okay, now there is a related to storage account. So what we can do, this only storage account, count shared. Oh, did I change something in the tables file? Let me go storage account. Maybe let me go my storage account. Yeah, so storage account for is okay. Because the Azure resource group shared count shared, which attribute must be accessed to specific account. Okay, so storage account, let's go. If you go to storage account, we are using count, right? And we are using count, but resource group locations, resource group, right? We cannot use like this because there is a one condition we have given. As I told you, whenever you are working with the count, while referring to the another resource, you have to call with the index number, right? So in this case, if it is not null, that means it is going to clear. But what is the, how can I call in your storage account? You have to call with the index number. So you can, in my case, I can simply use a, if you want to have only one, because one value, that means only one resource group going to be created. I can simply use a 0. Same thing for the locations. Anyway, locations taking from the what I call environment. That's okay. Let me run. All right. Now, as you can see, right? So the technically, you should know how the syntax are working, where it is being used. So that's good. Now let's check the Terraform plan, because I want to see and make sure it is this thing. Now environment variable. Okay. Now something still we are missing. Let me expand. Environment variables. Tables file, there is a primary, secondary. Oh, I might have modified something later, right? So this is the reason. Okay, let's go back to the tables file. Let me check what did I modify. Something I did was. Let me check. Very allure. Tables line number 5. Number 5. Okay, this one, right? We did not define this also because this is not defined anywhere. Remember, we've changed this thing. So let me remove this. Same thing. I have to ensure it is defined everywhere as it is. Let me go to the environment. This is good. Let me go to the here also. I need to make sure it is as it is, because there are types should be matched. Right. So I'll go while one. Okay, looks good now. Let me save. Let me once again plan. Okay, now it is environment related. I think I did modify. That's a thing. Underline number 5 is to yes. Variable maybe use. No value required. TF line number 1 environment variable. The root module input variable's name is not set. Has a default value. Oh my god, what did I mention? Let me check TF file. What did I change the time? Oh, I changed something, right? So yeah, so anyway, I will remove this also. Primary, secondary is okay. Line number 5, primary STS, the barrier may not be mentioned.
Rotation is
STS,
missing, Hriyen.
where?
Yes.
Spelling, huh?
Line number 5.
Oh, yes, that's what I was explaining. I was wondering what is missing. Okay, good, yeah. Because as I told you, this is a string, right? So good notice. That's why we have to go with the line number and see. Good, great, yeah. So this small mistake, when you modify, check that what is the syntax, everything. Okay, now it is asking subscription is required. Provider registry, yes, the reason now. Okay, now what we do, provider.tf, if you remember, I have removed the subscription details. Let me put the subscription details here. Right, so I'll go with here. Let me type here subscription I need to define because we need to deploy to Azure. Subscriptions. Now you can put it here. Sorry, my bad. I can remove this. Right. So I am done now. Let me run 1 second Terraform plan. Okay, now let's wait. Now, as you can see here, right now there are 16 resources going to be created. Okay, so let us see one by one. Before that thing, I will apply this one so that I can show you real time. Right. Let me apply. What is the command? Terraform apply auto approve. Sorry, my bad. Right, auto approve. What did I type? Oh, my spelling is mistake. My bad. Okay. Meanwhile, let's go exactly what resource, how it is being created, and everything we'll see. How the 16 resources going to be created, we will see that one by one. So as I told you, I will first go expand this window, and let's go with the one by one. Okay. First thing, is it from here? Yeah. Okay, if you can see here, this expanding anyway. Now you can see it is going to be created the storage account, right? Storage account 2, and maybe storage account 2. Then how many storage account we have defined? Let me check this also. The one we define or two we have defined. Let me check there also. If you go to TFVerse file, right? Storage account. Okay, I will expand a little down. I mean this thing. Yeah, I think we are defining storage account 1 and 2, right? That means 2 storage accounts is going to be created based on the map, right? And each storage account, if you see here, this will have a different name, backup, archive. Another storage account will be different name. So this all should be done dynamically. That's the first thing. Good. Then next, let me expand. Then it also going to create the containers. Containers means, as we all know, right? We need to create a container name. For the containers also, we need to define the name. Like we have a backup name, and we have another is a container. This also we given as a logs. Then we have 2 containers created, right? Because those storage account for each container would have a 2 for each storage account would have a 2 containers, right? So then another this thing, this for archive containers. This also you can see archive name, right? So then second another container, we have 4 total for 2 storage account. Yeah, here backup, right? So if you go back to your TFVerse file, if you see here, for each storage account there will be a 2 backup, sorry, containers. One is a backup, second is a logs. Same thing for the second storage account, backup as well as the archive. So we are good here. Now next is container. Okay, after creation this thing container is done. Next it is going to create what? It is going to create the module. Again, this time it's not take the Azure RM, this will take the module at last. If you notice before till last sessions, we were seeing here Azure RM only. Right? This time it is not showing that. It is showing module dot because it is through the module it is happening. Now that means one NIC is going to be created. That is a Windows NIC, Windows with a Windows base. Now name we given this name because this is what we want the name to be, right? Locally, basically interface name, and how the name should be. If you see the name, right, it should be. If you can see here, Windows NIC, then Windows mean Windows, Linux mean Linux. You can change this one, this attribute, you can change it. You can remove this name and put a different name. Let me show you. If I go here, Windows, go to the NIC card, right? Let me take you to the NIC card. Go to the BM's NIC card. Nicker first Nicker, right? Yeah, sure. If you see here Nicker, we are using here, right? So for each one VM based on this thing, you can change it if you want to change according to your requirement. So you can modify the name as you want. So as I told you, that's the first thing. Same thing for the other issues as well. Now let's go with the next. Okay, IP configurations. In IP configuration also, we have it internal. This is the name we given, right? Intern this thing. Then primary, secondary, dynamic. All this we have given. Public IP will be created. That is after creation of this thing. Now same thing for the another basically what is a public IP address. This is for the NIC. This is for public IP address, right? For the Windows public IP address, this one. Now because as I given in my TFVers file for Windows. I given if I check the virtual machines, right? Network. Yeah, if I see the public IP address I given as a this thing true, that means for particular this VM public IP address will enable by default, not by default with the help of these conditions. Okay, now let's see next. So this is the name you can see here, subnet ID, everything is linked. Now Linux is we have it Linux also, Linux NIC, NICCAR, public IP address. So Linux you can ignore for now. I should have ignored it, but anyway, let it be. But same concept. Then public IP you'll have this thing also. What do you say? Windows. For Windows, it is going to be created. The public. This is the public IP going to be created for you. Then next, what you have again, this is all from module, right? Because we are working through module. So if it's the virtual machines, now this is the virtual machine you're going to use. Now if you see the username, Sanjay, admin password, and so on, so properties basically. So what exactly we need to see, you can see the SQ size, we're given a tag. This tag we have given, if you see here in the BM, or maybe other properties, right? BM ID, everything, SQ size, everything. If you see the SQ size, right? You can see this thing. Okay, now if you go to this thing, if you go to the BM, sorry, TFVers file for the BM, you can see the SQ GB, how much size we given, what is the SQ type, what is the BM type, everything we have given here like this. Then this is username, password. This is going to be created. Okay, now this is how we have to use it. So everything is going to be created. Now same thing like this you can create. Now if you see here, I think there is some issue. For one issue, you can ignore it. This is issue, we can check what is the issue related. Only one issue is having issue. You can ignore anyway. Storage account with some name B2 performing blah blah prohibited and request this LOO. This is the reason why I have enabled. Basically, there is a policy I have disabled it. Basically, if you see where is that? Performing clear unexpected status for node 3 for forbidden. Then we have request this allow policy, and it is saying was this allowed by policy restriction. Hey, you are allowed to create only standard LRS. This one because I have given some policy here. This is the reason why it is used that I cannot use the SQ storage account as this thing. So SQ, if you go here, I wanted to make sure you understand, but yeah, I'll show you this also. What I did was policy, go to the maybe under, yes, auditing, go to the assignments, go to the LO. Now, if you see storage account should be limit by allowed SQ. This one I have given it. As in I have assigned to the entire subscription. So you are only, if you see message like you deny, right? This is going to deny. You can only use the allowed parameter as a standard LRS. So this is the reason why if you see the what we call that region requester, you can see the details, right? So as I told you, this is I have given these parameters, though you can basically create only the details. So what I do one, as I told you, I have defined this one. I have to change this one to standard LRS instead of this thing. So what I'll do, I'll go back, go to this TFBars file, in TFBars file storage account. That means I'm not allowed, I should not be creating it. I will go to the storage account. Yeah, storage account have to. So let me stop. What is the top? What is that? LRS, right? Standard LRS standard. Okay. So it can go with the standard LRS. LRS is given, ZRS not given. So this is LRS, right? So LRS you can make. Right. This time I have given boot or LRS because only LRS supported replication type. So rest, I think, yeah, that's good. Looks good. Let me apply it changes. Let me save it. Let me apply the changes again. That's okay. Anyway, one storage account not be, but one storage account will be created for you. So let us see the changes first. So as you know, now let me go to the resource group. Now, resource group name we all know this is a pulse be created. Now within here, this is coming from where? This is all coming from your maybe a network related. You can also check it. Let's see the tag also. You can have a multiple tags created, as you can see here. How these tags are possible, values are coming because as I told you, with the help of just what we did was we just created at here in your variable file. It could be any variable, you can go anywhere. Let's say BM. If you go to the tag, right, just type a tag, right? Text, yeah, you can see just a map of strings because you want to have a multiple strings as a map. You want to do it, pass the value in the tfvars file. This is the reason here why if you go tfvars file, I have a multiple tags defined here. That many tags will be created automatically with one configurations. So here, this is a text we have used it, so looks good. Now let's go with
Again,
the
one
storage.
small query here.
Yeah,
Again. Actually, say apart from the Terraform tags, if we
okay.
use any policy to enforce some additional tags,
Mm-hmm.
will it create any conflict with the Terraform code, or how it will happen?
What kind of policy example?
We can set few policies to enforce tags that would get inherited from parent
Yes,
resource group or something,
that
right?
nothing will happen. You can use that also. See
Okay,
that if,
okay.
yeah, if you want that way, I understand what is saying. If you go here, sorry, I'll open one more tab. Um, Policy. Definitions. Go to the. Let me check first assignment because I might have assigned already. Tags. Maybe I. Right. There is an option if you see here. Sorry, not tag. It's a tag, right? There is an option like if you see here, append a tag and its value to resource group. Okay. So example, click here. Now this particular value or environment pro, right? If you notice this one I have given it. So environment and this thing, this is coming from the assignment. Now if you go to here, this name, or if you go to the same what this was be created, you can see the extra, maybe to go to text. Support this thing. Okay, I have, yeah, you can, here is not there, right? So if you want to be along with this thing code, it will not be managed through Terraform, but separately. So you can assign like this. You can just use this thing, whatever value you want, you can change the name. You can go to assignment, edit. You can give a name where you want to assign it. Everything you can do it. Like you can go to assignment, right? You can assign the name you want to change the name, assign it. So you can do that also, so that it will not affect to anything to Terraform.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now let's go with the resource. So as we all know, it is created using the module. Now we have multiple resources here. Let's talk about the virtual machine first. We want first, our concept is to understand how it is being used. Now, as I told you, I have here one resource. This is the name that is going to be used, and this is the standard. This is the OS type we have selected. Right. Let us see TFVers. I'm going to refer TFVers also. So, okay, storage account, virtual machines. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, so now if you see the windows, this is this thing we taken, this is the name we given, right? Everything we can check it. This is the name we given, same name, right? This is the SQ or size, and public IP also, it should be associated. Now if you go to the public IP, got like some IP, it is associated dynamically. Now if you talk about the binary subnet, because if I talk about the here, a binary subnet, it belongs to different module, but with the help of Terraform module, we are able to achieve it, right? And it is used it accordingly. Then what else we can expect here? Yeah. So next, if you talk about the public IP address, if you click there, what name we have given here, right? If you talk about the first, it should be a public IP address. Then it should be the, sorry, it should start with the PIP. Then it should start with the BM name for then region of the BM. So let us see the public IP, how it is been defined. If you go to the BMs under main.tfs public IP, yeah, this is for Windows public IP. If you see here, based on this map, right, enable, if it is enabled, they will create, they'll take the BM PIPs from the starting name and the BM name and the in region name. This is how the private IP is also, sorry, public IP also going to create. So as it is. So that is how we name. Now question is, if you have multiple, how are you going to manage it? This is the reason why uh, it has to be dynamically. We have to use it with some looping conditions with forest mapping automatically. Okay. So this is the reason why. Now, okay, now let me create, now created, right? Let me create one more uh, there is a account related to LRS, still standard LRS, man, LRS, what did I give? This is for, let me check the storage account, how many getting created. BMB he created anyway, storage account. One is created. What is the configuration for the one? Let me check. Replication standard. Okay, let me check the two. Why is not getting created? Still having issue. Maybe we need to check. Storage account 2. Right. Storage account. Okay, here, let me compare it. Okay, tier. Okay, tier, not this thing, right? Tier, it is a premium, so it is failing. Tier actually it should be standard. We have to make a standard because, as I mentioned, the policy, if it is standard, then only it should be allowed. It should not be created as a premium. This is the reason why it is failing. This can be anything. It can give a 0rs also. It is a tier, not a replication. I thought it's a replications. That's fine. Anyway, so apart from the tier, res remains different, right? So let me apply these changes again. Now one more storage I'm going to create. Now let's say there is a requirement again. You need to create a one more new virtual machine, right? And it has to be associated again, just like now. So as I told you, everything is set up dynamically, so I don't have to worry much about anything. It will take by default in the backends. Start build.tier. What did I define as a control? Extractor tier, one of the premium standard. Did I type God? Oh, pre-standard. Oh, wrong here. How so mistake? My bad, guys. Please tell me also if I do some mistake. No, sometimes I can focus. Sometimes, yeah. It is a pre-standard. I mentioned it. There's nothing called a pre-standard. It's a standard, right? Let me run it. Yeah, so let me run one thing. Let me create one more virtual machine and try to create as it is as expected, right? So what I'll do, as I told you, it should be created dynamically. I'll go to the virtual machine sessions, and the virtual machines, maybe I'm going to create one more resource, right? This is the one VM going to be created. Um, So now if I want to use another, I can use this block. I can simply copy paste. Okay, and this is a Linux. Okay, in my case, let's say copy this syntax. No, it is not coming. It has to organize in the same under Windows. Why am typing myself? Under Windows, comma. This coming. Let me exit from this. If you see the curly braces, these two are matching curly braces, so they are one block. So I have type here. This is the reason why it is not allowing me to basically use it. Now if I type here, organize way. Okay, this is because I have one more already curly braces I have used it, no? So it is taking from there. So maybe I can remove this one. Then the one thing I will remove this one. I will command this one because there is already the line curly braces. If you see here, for it has to manage the same line. Okay, now as I told you, now we have this line now, but one problem here is the Linux. I will make it as a Windows because why I want to use a Windows. There is a small issue with the Linux Ubuntu related configurations. Basically, it is not taking some issue with the SQ. So I need to check the official why the SQ is not taking properly. Okay. Otherwise, okay, let's, yeah, it's okay. Let me focus on that. So I'll keep as a Windows. False. Basically, as I told you, all you need is that you need to just update the properties of the VM related things. So I will maybe change this publisher into something like here, right? I can copy paste it, image block. I should have done Linux, but Linux, as I told you, there is an issue with HQ, so I'll not do that. Now, as I type here, let me run this thing. The syntax, no, you just carefully see here. It should be as it is. While doing, just carefully check. Oh, I should change the name. Oh, name is changed, I think, right? What did I give the name? 200. Okay, 100 is 200. Okay. This time, this is a, I should have changed the name. Anyway, let it be name as it is. We don't care the name. Okay. You can give any name. Just see the resource, how it will be great. But this is a Windows server. Sorry, it will fail. I need to give Linux. It will fail. SQ this time as a Windows. Windows Pulse 200. Dev is okay. This is okay. Standard is okay. This, oh yeah, now fine. Now it's fine. Hello. Okay, there was some issue. I got Okay, anyway, so yeah, it will fail because, as I told you, this will fail because of this configuration mismatch. Let me run one second. Okay, this is how we should understand. Okay, meanwhile, let me show you others also, other properties. So as I told you, you have seen how it is being used. Now tags also we have created multiple. Now let's go with the storage accounts. Okay, let's go with the virtual machines. Right, this is the name we have, and then you can see the all other details as well, right? So if you want to check the tags you can see here. This is in the BM level, because in the BM level also we have given it. So wherever you want a tag, just use that this thing bed.tags. That's it. Okay, tags we have understood. Then we have also need to check about the network related. If you go to networking, on that networking we have a sessions, right? Network settings. In network settings, if you remember what all we have NIC, we have a subnet, everything we have, right? So we need to check this also, whether this is used correctly or not. Now, as I told you, this is the name, NIC name we given, and there's no load balancer. We have this is the name we given as a subnet, sorry, bnet and a subnet name, and this is a public IP address, and this is a private IP address. So it is got associated as it is. Now coming to the thing, we also have a network energy, right? So in energy, you can check from here. Otherwise, because this energy is associated to the subnet level. So if you go, you can check here, right? The network security, that is my energy attached to the subnet. That is a dep binary. That means this particular energy belongs to the or associated to your subnet level, not the NIC level. So that it will be easy to manage the traffic as well, right? So now if I go to the simply search here also, NSG, you would get a NSG separate resource created for you. Then I told you this is the name I have given it. Now you can see the policy, how it is doing. Now, if you have a multiple listing with one block, you can define. So how, if you see here, there are three again. One is your priority, and then name of the this thing rule, and the port number, and the protocol, which protocol it has to be used, and source and destinations. So I have given the name, everything. So this is also required for you to basically define or enable the traffic, right? So I will show you how I have defined it. That okay. So okay. You can ignore the last one because there is some conflict. I need to change these variables in the other file also. Okay, let's take with this thing only. So if I go to the what is the thing I was saying now? So okay, I was saying about the energy role. Let me show you the energy role. So now if I go to energy, this is the basically TFBars file. If you go to the, this is under networking, right? BNet under the network, we have a energy created. Let me show you. This is a energy, right? This also created, right, based on some conditions, right? So now I also define a tag for that. Now same thing, variable also. Under same thing, network variables, I have defined the network roles, energy role, like name, priority, and direction, access, control, source, everything I have defined, because when you want to, sorry, when you basically want to allow the traffic here, right, you have this option, right? Priority, name, ports, protocols, everything we have it. This is within the energy level, right? So this is the reason why I'm trying to define here. So I have defined here and passed all the data for network security related data type, and actual value I have passed it in my TFVers. As I always tell you, it has to be passed in the TFVers file, right? So in the TFVers file, you would go to this network security. Under network, as I told you, this is a network like variable name. This is the what you call your bnet name. If you want, you can check it. You can go to the basically bnet name also. You can source. I will open one more tab here. VNet, right? This is a VNet name I have given, right? This is name is got created. Under VNet, BLA have a sub. We also have a subnet. Now, if you go to the here, just type somewhere settings. Maybe here subnets we have, right? Because this particular subnet, sorry, VNet need to be. If you want to associate any subnet, first you should have a VNet. Then inside VNet only you will have a subnet. Okay. Now you have this name dev subnet. This is the name why I have also defined in my DevOps file. This is the range of the IP address, address previous subnet name, right? This is a prefix for this thing. I have defined everything, IP range. If you want, I can check. Subnet VNet level is 10.000./16. So that also, if one, you can check it. This is a subnet level. Subnet level have a different IP range, as we all know. Let me go VNet. Now, if you go to the VNet, this is a 10.000/16. This is the we have given. And subnet level, we have a 10.0.1.0/24. If you go to the subnet level, as I told you, you will have this IP range, right? So we are good here. Now we have defined energy role also I have given as a my energy. This is why you can see this by my energy name. Under here, we have based on some condition I have defined it. You can ignore with some whether to enable or not. Then this role, because we have multiple roles, right? We need to define this way. So if you want to define to another this thing, you can define. Let's say right now I have 3 roles. For each role need to map individually, right? So let's say I can give a name, whatever name I want, same the priority, everything. It has to be define the properties for each VM, sorry, each role, and passed it as a loop. So example, we have 3 role. First is the RDP LO, second is your LOSS, third is your LODNA. So if you want, you can check here LO RDP, LOSS, DNA all, right? So these have given everything with the priority, all the name. So that's how we have to basically pass when you're working with this thing. So that you don't have to, this all need to be dynamically. You just modify Terraform.tf file, that's it. You don't need to write a new code if it's already implemented. Okay. Yeah, so this is all, Tim. Maybe I'll just, yeah, I think we have covered everything almost. But yeah, let me show if something is there. Yeah. So VM, as I told you, based on the, if you don't want this thing, let's say in my case, let me check what is how many VMs got created so that I can show you, right? 1 VM. Now, if I see here 1 VM, I want to basically remove the, there is a public IP, right? Right now, you can see this number 10. There is a public IP associated. Now, if I want to disable, I don't have to change entire code. What I have to do, go to the VM, just you disable this thing. How can I disable? You can do many ways. One way, if you have to check that how you pass in data. Let's say in my network level, right here, network level, check how the data are passed. Let's say on the network, sorry, not network, under, yeah, here. On the network, we have a, who is that? Public IP, right? Oh, public IP is within the VM only, not in this, right? My bad. Okay, so public IP is within the VM only. So if I see the public IP for the VM level, now you have noticed it, right, already. So this is a VM level. There is a public M enable. Now this is a boolean I given. Now that means if it is based on this only, public IP is getting created. Now let's say I will give as the null. That means now if I change the value in my TFVers file, instead of this value for the, this is the resource already created existing, right? I want to disassociate, delete basically the public IP address. I can simply remove this one for now because I don't want to remove fully, but what I want is basically, let me just remove this thing. Five. What you do is just put a null here. Null you put. because this time there is no any particular VM would not be using any resource. Sorry, public IP address. Now let me run this thing. One second, applied it. Now, if you go to the basically, as I told you, this time, right now you can see now already we have a public IP also for this VM. There is a public IP is created. Now, just after some time you check now. How is it possible dynamically? Because how it should be used, you need to know, right? So this is the reason why I have defined in the public IP session for the this is the VM level, right? If you see here, I'm saying if it is true, if it is true, it should create. Otherwise, it will ignore it. It will not create it. Now it will, because it is already created, because we have given as a true, right? It is already created. So obviously they will try to basically delete it. Now you can see null value does not have the attribute. Okay. So as I told you, that's how we have to work. So if you don't want, okay, we should not use the null because we use an object. So what is saying, if you see attribute, any attribute is required. The reason why we have to null instead of this one, you should have done here TFWords file. My bad. I should not be doing the null because we use an object. So instead, I should have done instead of true, I could have done a false, right? Because there is an object. If it is only one this thing, you can define null. But in my case, we don't need to define that. So let it be as a what you call false this time. That means there is no any public IP going to be created for you. 66 something I missed it while defining 1 minute. Linux you can ignore. I will not touch this one for now. We can we can ignore this thing because this one line I have to keep it. Then as I told you, I don't need to define here as false. Let's wait 2 minutes. It should done. Okay, meanwhile, we'll go this. So this is how normally we can use with a module with different this thing. Same thing as I told you, if you have multiple modules, we can just reuse it. Okay, so this is why I was saying to explore more and understand it. Now, if you go to the networking also, as I told you, you can see the under settings, networking settings, right? We have it everything. You can see the network interface name and IP address, private IP address, and everything. Now you can see this many going to be 3 going to be destroyed. Question is, you might be thinking we have created only public IP, we want to destroy. How 3 VMs going to how 3 things will be going to destroy? Is because there depends on some this thing. If you have some resource, if you have unchecked, let's say this one you commented, if you want to already created mean you just uncomment, this will be destroyed automatically. Right now this was before it was like this, right? So now we did using this thing, that means this is commented. The commented, if it is already created mean they are going to destroy if it is commented here. I'm facing the issue with the storage account. Okay, storage account, anyway I don't want to take much with the storage account. I will disable this also for now. Tier word storage account, what is that? Okay, there is some. Okay, I will also uncheck this also for now, right? So whatever resource created, if you using this hash route, then it is going to be destroyed if it is already created. output.ts input. Okay, resource group. Then we have our containers. We have a value. Okay. Okay, that is the thing. Now we'll wait 2 minutes. Then we are good. Now we can see everything. Now let's wait for some time. If you see here, as I told you, this is created in the not at NIC level, right? This is created on your subnet level. This is why in the security group is not showing here. So if you want this to be shown, then you have to associate accordingly. So, but if you go to the subnet level, I have already gone here, right? This is subnet level. Click there. Now, 1 minute. Now you can see here on the subnet level, your what you call NSG is created. Okay, so that is the thing. Yeah. Now it is false. Now I can see the false. There is some issue with the allocation part. Let me check what is the issue. This one you can deleting the public IP address, deleting the public IP address. Okay, false. Since still allocation or issues. Okay. Sometimes there is a if you see here option, right? Sometimes there is some capabilities are there for some resource due to the API lag. So if you check let me show you. Yeah, if you go through the error, what it says, this particular performance delayed, unexpected, the village number, public IP address, which is this particular ID under here, right? Misconception. In order to delete, right? In order to delete the public IP address, this associate the address. This thing that means there are some time resource where it is not supporting directly. You may need to do some time manually also. So in order to delete it. So I hope this is clear, right? So we can do it actually. So if you want to do at all, let's say you don't want to use the public IP, first let me disassociate. How can I disassociate? You can go either way. Go to the virtual machines, or maybe you can go to the public IP. Anyways, is okay. Now let's me go to the public IP, right? NIC card. Because under NIC card only the public IP is associated. So from here you can go or directly can go. Let me take you there. Why is taking me back again here? Configuration settings are changed now. So basically, as I told you, you need to manually disable this one. You can go to the public IP, and then there is an option called disassociate, right? So we can do this thing, and then you can delete it. If it is already being used, because right now the VMs are running, right? VMs are running, you cannot delete it. If it is VMs are not running, you can run it. But sometimes it may happen, but it depends on the API. Some resource may work without relocating. Some resource may require to disassociate also. Depends on the API, right? So, okay, that's this. I think that's okay for today. Yeah, thank you so much, team, once again for joining us. So as I told you, you can maybe go through this all repo. Once I will give you the repo link, everything. Go through each repo, how it works, especially working with the BMs module, because here I have used a lot of different data types uh, with different scenarios, right? You will have a lot of ideas and you can use it for your reference as well. Yeah, so thank you so much, team, once again for joining us. Have a nice day. Bye.